Adventure in Pipeman on W4CY Radio.
Wake up, America! It's time for the Adventures of Pipeman on W4CY.com, West Palm Beach's #1 internet radio station. Here's your host, the Pipeman.
No dress rehearsal, this is our life. That's what you gotta do. You gotta make the most of it.
From Kingston, Ontario, Canada, my friends, the Tragically.
If any of us were in another band, I don't think we'd be able to do it because we wouldn't be in another band with our friends.
Crowds would get so loud that you couldn't hear anything happening on stage.
They put on a monster show. They were loud and tight and forceful, and Gord was mesmerizing.
It made it cool to be Canadian. I feel silly being sort of emotional about it.
The songs that we wrote matter a lot to people. It came at its cost. 30 years, relationships can get strained.
We probably should have had some therapy. I think at that point we probably needed it.
We knew there were problems.
There was anger and frustration and resentment, and then Gord got his diagnosis.
First we'd climb a tree.
It was brain cancer and it was incurable. The worst of the worst.
Memories, which used to be my forte, and now I can't remember people's names and can't remember lyrics.
What he's planning to do next is nothing short of awe-inspiring.
We got together and started to rehearse, to write an end to our own story.
No dress rehearsal. This is our life.
People came out and they showed their appreciation, gave Gord their love, and it helped him.
And I swear as we progressed, he got better, and it was unbelievable.
And by the end of the tour, he felt like old Gord.
Tonight we smoke
Multiple generations of Canadians decided that the Tragically Hip were our band.
They will define for generations to come the music that exemplifies this country.
This is the Pipeman here on the Adventures of Pipeman W4CY Radio, and I'm very excited about our next guest because we got a lot to talk about. It's very exciting. So let's welcome to the show Rob Baker from the Tragically Hip. How are you?
I'm pretty good. Good to be here.
Good to have you. And wow, does it kind of blow your mind that we're going to be talking about your 40th anniversary here?
Yeah. Yeah, I was 4 years old when we made the first record.
Wow. It's just amazing that, like, how many bands nowadays that you think wouldn't have survived through all of the, the era of rock and roll that we were in to be still around 40 years later. I was just at a live show the other day. They were celebrating their 40th anniversary. And it kind of blows my mind. We didn't even think we'd be here 40 years from then.
I remember my dad telling me the Beatles, he said, yeah, they're hot now, but in 10 years, will anyone know their music? Will anyone sing their songs?
Wow.
Yeah, well, he was pretty wrong.
I know, right? Even, it's interesting, too, because, like, one of my first entries to music was the Beatles. It seems like every generation, that is like their entry into music.
Yeah, I think that's a good thing. When my son was really young, I made him cassette tapes. He had a little player that he could control his own music and listen to what he wanted, but I kind of curated for him. And it was, he'd have a tape of the Beatles, he'd have a tape of Bob Marley, he'd have a tape of, African rock dance music, whatever, just things that, because I didn't want him listening to kids' music, for God's sake. I want him to hear good quality music. There's lots of great music that anyone can love, and it's a foundation that you can build on. The Beatles are a good foundation.
Yeah, so it's interesting to me. So how I originally found out about the Beatles, I think I was in like first or second grade, and we had to do some oral presentation, and some kid in the class did on the Beatles, and it made me really interested. And then I found out about that 1969 radio show with talking about Paul McCartney being dead. So I started buying all the albums to get all the hints and check out all the stuff for to figure out if he really was alive or not.
Play them backwards.
No doubt, right? So it's interesting. We kind of do live in different times now that I think a lot of the newer music is more simplistic now than it was then. I think the key was because you didn't have a lot of these different types of music that artists, musicians could experiment back then. Like the Beatles were the kings of experimentation.
Yeah, everything's moved more and more into silos. If you, in the 60s and 70s, if you liked rock music, you'd go see, whatever, the Amboy Dukes, and you'd go see the Rascals, and you'd go see the Mamas and the Papas, or whatever it was. I like rock music, and it's a broad term.
Yes.
By 1980, or the early 80s, it's like, well, I like this type of rock music, and it's all broken down into little subgenres. And since then, it's even more subgenres, to the point that no one can keep track of any of it anymore.
No.
And ultimately, I always just liked music, and it's not just rock music. I like rock and blues, and I like swing music, and I like straight up jazz, and I like African music, whatever it is. I like good music.
I don't even understand how people can like one super specific type of music and that's it. Like, do I have my favorites? Yes. But it also depends on your mood too, and what you're doing or what have you. Sometimes you're in the mood for one type of music, sometimes something else. It all depends. And I think it just makes you more well-rounded when you're open to a lot more different types of art and music.
Yeah, music is a friend and a gift to us. That it can be a teacher, it can console you, relax you, it can commiserate with you. It's it's there for you in good times, in bad times. You celebrate with it, and you cry the blues with it. It's there for a lot of different reasons. And if you only had one type of music, it's like only having one friend.
Yeah, right.
You're stuck with them.
One friend, one thing that you ever do with that friend, because it's so concise now, to your point, and I find that even when in the 80s, when they started like separating people within the rock genre, like even in those separations, they didn't sound the same. They sounded different. Now it's almost like an algebraic equation sometimes.
Yeah.
I remember I first started playing guitar and my dad was listening to me. He's like, man, you should give that up because you suck. And what I was really doing is I really didn't know what I was doing. So I was experimenting. I wanted to see what sounds I can make the guitar have. Because if you think of all the great guitarists, probably including yourself, like that's how you found your unique sound as a musician.
Yeah, you play, you experiment, and hopefully, if the consensus is that you suck, then maybe you do something else. But fortunately, my parents never said that. They're pretty indulgent, and I still have the guitars they got me for an acoustic guitar they got me when I was 13.
Wow.
For my 12th birthday, and an electric guitar they got me for my 13th birthday.
Wow.
And that electric guitar that my dad took me out to get for my 13th birthday was at every single show they had played. I played that guitar every show.
Wow. I was going to ask about that. So that is way cool. I love that. And it's kind of like, how does it make you feel now to play that guitar nowadays?
I love it. I only pull it out for special things. At a certain point, it was my main guitar that I did everything on for about the first 5 or 6 years. And then it became an open E guitar for me. And I played lots of songs through the years in open E, so I'd play it on, half a dozen songs every night. But it's one of the sweetest sounding guitars I've ever had. I got a lot of guitars here. I'm looking around the room, and I could, just within eyesight, there are 20 plus guitars in this room. So
nice.
And it's here. So
you get to a point where you like you collect them in the sense of that you love the guitar so much that when you see one that really is cool and then you play it a little bit and you have a feel for it, it's like, well, I have to have that one too.
Yeah, sometimes, I walked into a local guitar store in Kingston, and the guy said, "You got to check this out. It's a 1929 Dobro guitar." And I was like, "I'm not checking it out. I'm not going to play." And he said, "Oh, you should just check it out. Just hold it in your hands." I was like, "I'm not going to do it." And I walked around for about 20 minutes, and I said, "Okay, give me a slide." And I sat down, and I played about 2 notes on it, and I was like, "Okay, how much?" But every guitar does something a little bit different, In theory, they're all the same. You could, I'm looking at a rack here ahead in front of me of like 7 Strats, and each one is different. And if I was recording a song, and I would it needs that one.
Yeah. See, and that's to me, that's a true guitarist right there, because somebody that's trying to play guitar, but maybe isn't a true guitarist, can't tell the difference, either the sound or the feel.
Yeah, I think a lot of times we try and impose ourselves on the music. You try and shape the music to what you want it to do, and this is what I want to sound like. And I think that for all of us in the band, it was, you let the song tell you what it wants to do.
Yes.
You are there to serve the song, and it'll tell you what sound it needs, and it'll tell you where to play and when not to play.
I love it. That's so true. Like that, to me, that's the difference. That's the difference between somebody that plays guitar and somebody that is a guitarist, or somebody that plays the drum and is a drummer, or you take any musical instrument, including the vocals. To me, that's the difference. So I love that explanation there. So let's talk about this Amazon Prime documentary. That is way, way cool. Tell us a little bit about that.
Mike Downey, who is Gord Downey's older brother, came to us, and we had known Mike since before the band days. And he had done a previous documentary for us, documenting a tour, roadside attraction tour that we had done in the early 90s. And he came and said, "I want to do a documentary. I think it's time that you guys did one." And I don't think he had any idea that it was going to be 4 parts or on Amazon. It was still pretty amorphous at that time, but we agreed to do it, gave him full access to our archives, and we agreed to sit down and do interviews, which were going to be kind of far-ranging interviews. It ended up being about 15 hours for each of us, over three days of 5 hours at a time, covering different parts of our career. And we just said, if we're going to do this, it's got to be honest. We don't want to do a fluff piece about the band. It's not a promo piece, because we don't really have anything to sell. I guess we do maybe, but that's never been our primary objective. So we just thought, we got into these conversations with him, and one at a time. He took us all individually, and although there are cameras set up and there are lights, very quickly all that stuff falls away, and you're just in conversation with someone.
Yeah.
He's asking you a question, you're answering as honestly as you can, and that leads the conversation. You just carry on, and it's only later when you see it being edited into something that's telling the story, and you're thinking, wow, I really I just kind of let the whole world in on this conversation we're having, and some of it was kind of vulnerable and personal, and but that's the way it had to be.
Yeah.
There's no point in doing it if you're not going to do that. Otherwise it's just a fluff piece promo.
No doubt.
We don't need more promo.
No. After 40 years, I should hope not. Especially when you're great musicians like yourself, and now you even have this new box set, so that's pretty cool too. So like, there's so much going on for his 40th anniversary. I love it. What are some great reasons for people to get the box set, opposed to somebody saying, "Well, I already have all of that"? Why do they want the box set?
Well, if you're a fan of this album, and it certainly sold well in Canada, and it did okay in a couple of European countries. I'm not sure how well it did in the States, but if you're a fan of the record, you'll hear it more clearly than you've ever heard it. Mastering techniques are better than they've ever been. The Atmos that comes with it, if you're into Atmos, it really does put you in the room with the band. You can almost see exactly where everyone's standing. You're hearing the music in the space that the music is being made in.
Nice.
So you've got all that going on. There's a live album that goes with the set that comes from that same time period, same 6-month period around that record. And there's a DVD with that, or Blu-ray. And we're all serious hair farmers in the video. It's ridiculous how much hair there is on stage.
Right.
and then there's a full album of other songs. Some songs were cut specifically for the album in Memphis while we were making the record, and because of reasons of length or sequencing, they didn't end up on the record. One of them was my favorite song from the whole session, didn't make the record.
Wow.
And it's out now. So that used to happen to me a lot. My favorite. Why is it always my favorite song that gets? But so there's that. And at the time we were also demoing. We had been demoing for 8 months for Capitol Records. And after 8 months, we had a ton of good songs and we were ready to make a record, and they were very non-committal. And all of a sudden, this guy shows up from MCA USA, from the LA branch, and he wants to sign the band to a 7-record deal. And we said, let's go, let's do it. And he sent us to Memphis to make the record. And away we went. But as a result of that, all that demoing, those demos were available to us. And some of the songs from the demos, there are 1 or 2 that I think beat the versions on the final album. So
wow.
For fans of the original album, to get those demos, or fans of the band at that point in our career, I think it's really informative. And
Yeah.
I hope it turns on a few new people too, but I don't know.
I'm sure it will, because in my opinion, it's badass. And, it's available November 8th, the box set. And so how do we tell people to get the box set? Obviously, they can search for, No Dress Rehearsal on Amazon Prime, and how they can just connect to you guys in general.
Yeah, well, thehip.com is our site, and you can find all kinds of stuff on there. Poster dealers, connect you with a poster community, or the box set. There's a coffee table book. There's the Amazon documentary. There's all kinds of stuff. There's a merch store. But if you just want to know about the band, the history of the band, individuals' solo projects, it's all available on thehip.com.
Love it. And I also love the fact that your documentary was the first in history for the Toronto International Film Festival to win the People's Choice Award. So that's a pretty great honor right there. And then also at the Calgary International Film Festival, you won the 25th anniversary award for top overall score. So that's pretty cool.
That's amazing. We've been doing the film festival circuit. I really didn't see that in our career.
Right. When you first started even playing guitar, did you even think that you would be in the the film festival circuit. I mean,
and here I am walking down the red carpet. Oh yeah, I was really never part of the plan. It's it's interesting. You take it in stride. You take it all with a grain of salt and enjoy it while it's here.
Absolutely. Well, it sounds like you totally enjoy it, which is what makes you a great musician. To me, how could you even be a great musician if you don't totally love it? Because besides that part of it, there's a lot of stuff why you wouldn't like being a musician. So you might as well love the reason you are one.
Yeah. Well, I got into it because I was a fan, and we all got into it because we were music fans, and it's easy for that to slip away from you while you're doing it when it becomes a job and you're having to slog away at it. And we would just remind ourselves and each other regularly, remember why we got in. It's because we're fans. So I'm still a fan. I have a show on Sirius XM that I do, once a week, and that means that I have to be scouring the internet looking for music all the time, new music, old music, and it's free form radio. I can play an Eddie Lang recording from 1920 back to back with a Radiohead song. It makes no difference.
Nice. I love it.
Free form, so I get to do what I want and talk about music in terms that make sense to me, and I hope it makes sense to other people. But it means that I have to stay engaged in music. So I'm out in the stores regularly on a weekly basis, and I'm scouring the internet looking for new music all the time and going to shows.
I love that, because I find it's also most iconic musicians like yourself that are still around after all this time. That's the common denominator. No matter what genre they're in, they're still fans of music. And that's the key. So I love it.
Yeah, you got to be. What are you doing if you're not?
Exactly. No doubt, and listen, you got to have passion because people can tell. Like if I'm at a show, I can tell if you're going through the motions or if you're just up there having the best time of your life. And when you guys are up there having the best time of your life, I'm like, man, that is so cool.
Yeah. I've been to shows where I saw someone checking their watch on stage. It's like, oh, geez.
Right?
Yeah, I don't want to be here either.
No, exactly. 100%. Well, we thank you for giving us all this great music for all these years. And now this cool box set, the documentary, there's so much going on. I love it. And thanks a lot for being on the Adventures of Pipeman.
It's been a real pleasure. I enjoyed it.
Same here. Ditto. Hope we can do it again.
Thanks.
Thank you for listening to the Adventures of Pipeman on W4CY Radio.